It started with the smirk. Not mine, his. It lasted maybe half a second, but I can still see it. That smug, knowing little curve of his lips that made my stomach clench like a fist. It happened across the room, over the soft hum of jazz and the fake laughter of middle managers pretending to like each other. He was holding a drink he hadn't even sipped. I was holding my breath. He didn't look at me like a stranger. He looked at me like an obstacle. We'd been at the party for 26 minutes. I know because I checked my watch constantly, not to keep time, but to avoid looking at her. Or at him. Or at them together. Mallory was radiant. Radiant in that I planned this entrance way. Radiant in a way she hadn't been in our kitchen in months. They were talking near the back, her and the man with the smirk. Every so often, she'd toss her hair back and place her hand on his forearm like it was a reflex. Like that was normal. People talk about betrayal like it's some violent event. A car crash, a slap, a scream. But it's quieter than that. It's the way she didn't look for me in the crowd. The way his time matched the dress she told me she randomly picked out. The way the room felt colder the longer I stood there pretending to matter. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew what he was. Predators don't growl anymore. They charm. They offer you drinks. They laugh at your jokes so they can memorize the way you break. And I was already breaking. When the CEO took the mic for some long-winded toast about synergy and team culture, I stood in the back like a wedding crasher who wasn't sure if he was on the groom's or the ex's side. Mallory didn't look for me once, but he did. Mid-speech, he turned his head, slowly, intentionally, and met my eyes across the sea of champagne flutes. Then he smirked again. Not a mistake this time. Not a reflex. A message. It said, "You're late." I already started. I don't remember clapping. I just remember the sound of everyone else clapping around me. Loud, cheerful, oblivious, as the CEO raised a toast to the future of Eltraxis, while my marriage quietly suffocated under the weight of her silence. The lights dimmed. Music returned. Conversations picked up. I tried to move toward her, toward them, but the crowd worked against me like a slow tide. Her face kept disappearing between heads, shoulders, sequins, and tuxedos, until finally, I saw her, by the balcony. She was laughing, not smiling, not fake small talking. Laughing. The kind of laugh she used to save for movie nights in bed or those stupid cooking fails we used to joke about. I watched as she leaned forward, slightly touched his lapel, then quickly pulled her hand back like she caught herself doing something too familiar. That's when I stopped walking. I didn't go up to them. I didn't interrupt. Instead, I did something I never imagined I'd do. I watched. For 25 full minutes, I pretended to be on my phone, sipping the same untouched drink, drifting from cluster to cluster of people who barely acknowledged me. My eyes never left her. She never once looked for me. They were close. Not in a scandalous way. No touching below the waist. No inappropriate gestures. But the intimacy was loud. Their heads were always tilted too far toward each other. His hand grazed her back every time someone passed by. They shared secrets that made her cover her mouth and tilt her head in that soft way I thought only I could bring out of her. It was all happening in plain sight, and no one noticed but me. The husband. The extra. I tried convincing myself I was overreacting. Maybe I was just jealous. Insecure. That's what she always said when I asked too many questions. You overthink everything, Ephraim. It's just work. He respects me. But I know what respect looks like. This wasn't that. Then something happened that cracked whatever I had left inside me. They took a photo. Not a group photo. Not a post-team picture. Just them. He pulled out his phone and turned to her with a grin. She gave him a machinoid look, then leaned in. They smiled together. Her head touched his shoulder. She didn't hesitate. She looked happy. I mouthed wow to myself like a ghost. I didn't even realize I had backed up into the bathroom hallway until I hit the wall. I leaned there for a while, not crying, not raging, just suspended in some awful, numb fog. Like my heart was sitting in a stranger's body. When I finally stepped out, they were gone. I scanned the floor. Tables. Dance area. Hallways. Nothing. Panic gripped me. I walked faster than I should have. I passed 2 interns making out near the coat check. A couple arguing near the elevators. But not her. Not them. Then I heard it. Voices. Soft. Muffled. Coming from the side exit stairwell. I know that voice. I know the shape her laughter makes, even behind walls. I stepped closer. Their words weren't clear, but the tone, it was playful. Intimate. Not professional. Not casual. Definitely not appropriate. I reached for the door, then stopped. I couldn't do it. Something inside me said, don't look. Don't open that door. If you see it, it becomes real. So instead, I walked back inside. Smiled at people who didn't care. Took a drink I didn't want. Laughed at a joke I didn't hear. Pretended I belonged in a world that had quietly erased me. She returned 20 minutes later, cheeks pink, hair wind-tossed. The stairwell was freezing. She whispered, leaning in to kiss my cheek. She smelled like his cologne. There's a specific kind of silence that lives in a marriage after trust cracks. Not a fight, not a scream, not a dramatic, I'm leaving. No, it's the kind where you're both brushing your teeth in the same bathroom, standing 2 feet apart, and somehow you feel like you're in different zip codes. That was us the morning after the party. She was humming something light, tying her hair up in that casual way like nothing happened. Like she hadn't just vanished with a coworker into a stairwell while her husband spiraled in a rented suit. I watched her from the mirror, brushing with short, neat strokes. No eye contact. So, I started, careful to sound breezy. Fun night, huh? She nodded. Yeah. You seemed quiet, though. I smiled. The wrong kind, thin and fake. Long day. That jazz band made me sleepy. She laughed, too quickly. Yeah, they were mellow. And just like that, she walked out of the room. Casual. Unbothered. Her phone buzzed on the counter behind her. I don't know if she forgot it or left it on purpose. Maybe she wanted me to see something. Maybe she wanted me to not see something and test me. But the second she disappeared down the hall, my body moved on instinct. The screen was still on. One message previewed. Quaid. Let me know if he. That's all I caught before it locked. Let me know if he. If he what? If I suspected something? If I saw them? If I was going to say anything? I stood there for a solid 30 seconds, just staring at the dark screen like I could will it to reveal the rest. I even tried guessing her passcode. For digits. First try was our wedding anniversary. Wrong. Second try. Her birthday. Wrong. I stopped there. I wasn't ready to be locked out. Not yet. She came back into the room with a hair clip in her mouth and froze the second she saw me standing near the counter. Looking for gum again, she said, eyes sharp. Yeah, just checking the drawer. She walked over, picked up the phone, and slid it into her back pocket without breaking eye contact. Then she kissed my cheek. It felt controlled, like a signature at the end of a contract I didn't know I was signing. The following days blurred together. She started working later. Said they were onboarding a tricky new client that Quaid was managing directly. She kept using that phrase. It's all work. Like she was preemptively defending herself against accusations I hadn't even made. But I wasn't planning to accuse. Not yet. I was planning to gather. So I watched. I listened. And I began to take notes, literal ones. I opened a spreadsheet. Labeled it receipts. First entry. Friday. Work party. Disappeared for 20+ men with Q. Returned flushed. Said stairwell was cold. Smelled like his cologne. Next. Tuesday. Came home 1 hour late. Said Quaid got locked out of his car, and she stayed behind to help. No Uber receipt. No texts. By the end of the week, I had a list of 9 small but sharp red flags. None damning alone. But together? A pattern. Still, part of me hoped I was wrong. That I was just insecure. That I needed therapy. That maybe my jealousy was some leftover symptom of years of being the passive one in our relationship. The nice guy? The tag-along. But that hope died the night I heard her laugh, again, through the bedroom door. She was in the living room. On the phone. It was late. I was pretending to sleep. But her voice carried. Not the words, just the cadence. The softness. The little giggle I hadn't heard in months. It wasn't her mom. It wasn't her sister. It wasn't a friend. I know that laugh. I know who it was meant for. I slid my phone out and hit record. No plan. Just needed proof. When I played it back later, it was mostly silence and white noise. Except one line, faint but clear. You're so bad. Stop. I'm serious. He's literally in the next room. I sat up in bed like someone dropped ice water down my spine. That was it. Not a full confession. Not even evidence, really. But it was enough to tell me the truth had moved in. It was living here now. In our walls. In her voice. In my head. And that's when something inside me changed. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to wait. Because if she thought I was weak now, she hadn't seen anything yet. The day I started tracking her was the day I stopped being her husband and became something else. Not a man, Not a spy. Something quieter. Something that observes. Records. Waits. I didn't even feel guilt. Not anymore. That emotion left weeks ago, replaced by a permanent tightness in my chest I now call clarity. She had no idea. She still kissed me in the mornings, sometimes, if she wasn't rushing. She still left half her coffee untouched on the counter. Still asked if I needed anything while she was out. But those questions, they felt like performance lines. Something she said to keep the illusion alive, like a magician gesturing to the audience while the real trick happens behind the curtain. And I was done being in the audience. The first time I opened her laptop, I hesitated. My hands hovered above the keyboard like they were asking for permission, even though I was alone in the apartment. Ridiculous. I knew her password. Same one she's used since college. Her dog's name and some numbers. I typed it in. Logged in. Her email was clean. Suspiciously clean. No threads with Quaid. No receipts. No red flags. Like a hotel room wiped down after a crime. But then I checked the synced cloud folder. She never disabled it. Everything she sent from her phone, photos, documents, notes, quietly backed up to a private Google Drive. That's where I found it. Not an affair video. Not some damning selfie. Just a document. Titled Q, Keynote Draft, Private. My stomach dropped. I opened it. It was a speech. Or notes for one. Some internal thing they were preparing for a client retreat. But the language, it was flirtatious. Full of inside jokes. Jabs about people in the office. And her comments, which were left under her name, Mallory G., weren't just professional. One read. LOL, stop, you're gonna get me fired, grinning face with sweat. Another. That joke is evil. And I'm stealing it for next girls' night, haha. And one that made me sit back in my chair, heart skipping. If I didn't love my couch so much, I'd say you make hotel rooms sound way too tempting. There it was. Not a confession. Not quite. But the tone? The intimacy? It was the kind of thing she used to write to me when we were first dating. Now she was copy-pasting that energy onto a document like it meant nothing. Like it wouldn't be found. I screen-captured everything. Labeled it Stage 1. That same week, she told me she'd be going to a strategy offsite, Thursday to Sunday. Quaid would be there too, obviously, because he's the client lead. She said it with a blank face, like she wasn't aware of the irony. Like she forgot I even knew who he was. She told me not to worry. It's a boutique resort. Mostly meetings and wine tastings. Nothing crazy. Then she smirked. You'd be bored out of your mind. She used to say that about my cousin's baby showers. Now she says it about weekends with him. I nodded. Said, of course. Knock yourself out. She packed her bag light. Business casual. One dress I hadn't seen before. Dark green, silky, the kind of dress that makes a man lose his judgment. She didn't know I saw her slip it in at the last second. The night before she left, I pretended to be asleep again. Just like I had before. I kept my back turned while she climbed into bed, careful not to disturb me. Her phone buzzed once, twice, screen turned down. I already knew how to access her notifications from my synced Gmail backup. It came in at 11:48 p.m. Quaid. Got the room. Not sharing this time, winking face, bring wine. She never replied. Not in writing. But when she left the next morning, she wore perfume she hadn't used in months. One I bought her years ago, which she always said was too strong for daytime. She used it now. For him. Not me. I stood at the window as her Uber pulled away. Didn't wave. Didn't breathe. I just stared, heart hollow, until the taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. It was time to start stage 2. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't even bring a change of clothes. Just my car, my phone, and a half-dead burner laptop I bought off Craigslist last year after I convinced myself I was going to learn Python. I wasn't planning to confront her. Not yet. I wasn't even planning to talk. I just wanted to see. She said she was going to Stonevine Retreat, some wine country resort in upstate New York with floor-to-ceiling windows and Instagrammable fire pits. I looked it up. Quaid had tagged it on LinkedIn last fall, some motivational quote about team alignment. The comments were mostly heart-eyed emojis from HR girls. The place was secluded enough that she'd never expect to be followed. But I wasn't going there to stalk in the bushes or bang on the door of some luxury suite. That's the thing. She thinks I'm a wreck. She thinks I'm sitting at home in pajamas, microwaving leftovers, and convincing myself it's all in my head. She has no idea what I've been doing. I've been building something. Quietly. It started 2 weeks ago, After that night, I heard her whispering into the phone. I made a fake LinkedIn profile using a stock photo and named the guy Brett H. Stanton, business consultant. No background, but enough buzzwords to pass a glance. Scalable solutions, cross-functional leadership, disruptive growth strategies. Within 48 hours, Quaid added me. Within a week, Mallory did too. She even liked one of my fake posts. That's how disconnected she was, liking Brett's content while lying next to me in bed. Through Brett, I messaged someone in her company's marketing team, a junior analyst who replied too fast and overshared like she was in an interview. I complimented her professional insights, told her I was exploring a partnership, then casually asked about the upcoming retreat. She gave me the full itinerary. I printed it out and labeled it Stage 2 Movement. I arrived at the resort a few hours after Mallory checked in. I didn't book a room. That would have been sloppy. Instead, I parked 2 lots down in the overflow section for catering vans and early staff. I had one goal: see them. Together. Unfiltered. No Instagram posts. No carefully worded explanations. Just them. The resort's main courtyard had wide glass windows that looked into the event hall. From the hill above, behind the parking lot, you could see almost the entire space if you crouched behind the landscaping stones. I felt ridiculous. Pathetic. My knees were wet from the grass, my breath fogging in the wind. And then I saw her. She wore the green dress, the one she never wore for me. She was laughing at something Quaid said, again, hand over her mouth, the same way she did at our wedding when my best man roasted me in his speech. I never realized how much I remembered her body language until I saw her giving it to someone else. He leaned in close, said something to her. She shook her head, then looked around like a teenager sneaking a smile in the back row of class. It wasn't corporate. It wasn't friendly. It was intimate, comfortable, rehearsed. I didn't need to hear the words. The choreography told me everything. But then she walked away. Not dramatically, just casually, toward the patio. Alone. I made a mistake in that moment. I moved closer. I didn't mean to. My body just reacted. I cut around the maintenance path, followed the wall of the west wing, and stopped near the ivy-covered trellis that wrapped behind the fire pit area. I could hear footsteps approaching. And then, I heard her voice. Mallory. Speaking softly. Close. Just around the corner. But she wasn't alone. Another voice replied. A woman's voice. Different. Familiar? I inched closer. Heart pounding. Not from fear, from confusion. You're really gonna go through with it? The woman asked. Mallory exhaled. Not frustrated, not scared. Just calm. If it all lines up the way he said, then yeah, I think I have to. My throat closed. Go through with what? Who was he? They stopped talking suddenly. I stepped back, breath held, convinced I'd been spotted, but they just drifted further down the path, out of sight. I didn't follow. I sat down right where I was. Cold stone under me, wind pressing against my back. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even jealous. I was scared. Because whatever was happening between Mallory and Quaid, it wasn't just about an affair anymore. Something else was in motion. Something she hadn't told him. And something she definitely hadn't told me. I didn't sleep the night she left for the retreat. I didn't even pretend to. I just sat on the couch in the dark, no TV, no music, no distractions. Just silence and the ticking sound the fridge makes when the compressor kicks in. It's funny the things you notice when your life is falling apart. Like how our apartment sounds lonelier when it's clean. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message I knew wouldn't come. Even a lie would have been something. Miss you. Or a long day. Or even just good night. But there was nothing. She didn't text once. Not a single emoji. Not even a read receipt. By 3:17 a.m., I cracked. Not emotionally. Digitally. I had backed up her old iPad a few months ago when we switched data plans. She never wiped it. Didn't even remember it existed. And most people don't realize that when you use the same Apple ID and don't adjust sync settings, things leak. Her messages didn't show up in full, but her voicemails did. And there was one, just one, from an unfamiliar number. A 973 area code. New Jersey. I played it. I expected Quaid's voice. Maybe something dirty, something I could finally confront her with. Instead, I heard hers. Mallory's. But not like I'd ever heard it before. Her voice was breathy, light, unfiltered. Not the corporate voice she uses on Zoom calls. Not the sarcastic tone she gives me when I ask why she's late. This was different. She said, Hey, I can't talk long, he's still up. I don't know how much longer I can do this. It's all lining up, but it feels heavier now that it's real. Call me when you get the signal. I'll be ready. Then she hung up. No goodbye, no name. Just that cryptic, eerie message. I replayed it 6 times, trying to dissect every breath, every pause. Who was he? Me? Was she talking about me? Or Quaid? And what did she mean, signal? That word rattled in my brain like a marble in a jar. It wasn't an affair. Not just an affair. Something else was happening. And I didn't just feel betrayed anymore. I felt used. That morning, I drove out to the Stonevine retreat. Not to catch her cheating. Not to get revenge. But to figure out what the hell she was actually involved in. The place was even more isolated than the website made it seem. Past the vineyards, down a gravel path that wasn't on GPS. The kind of place that was designed to feel exclusive but ended up feeling like a cult's Airbnb. I parked behind a catering van and waited. Watched. From the top of the hill, I could see the glass event hall through my binoculars. I saw Quaid. I saw Mallory. I saw the casual touches, the exchanged glances, the laughter that didn't match the body language. But then something strange happened. She pulled out her phone, looked around, and walked away fast. Not toward the bathrooms. Toward the woods behind the resort. I followed. Carefully. Far enough that she wouldn't hear, but close enough to track her path. She met someone. A man. Older. Balding. Dressed like he didn't belong there. Not corporate, not staff. He handed her something. A manila envelope. She didn't open it. Just nodded and tucked it under her coat. They didn't speak. Then she hugged him. A real hug. Not romantic. Not business. The kind of hug you give someone who's about to do something dangerous. She turned and walked back toward the venue. He disappeared into the trees. I waited until she was gone, then ran down the hill and checked the spot. Nothing. No prints. No paper. No clue. Except for one small thing wedged into the dirt where he'd stood, a plastic wristband. White. With a date. December 18th, 2022. Easton Mental Health Center. My blood went cold. That's where her brother had been committed. Years ago, she told me he cut off contact with everyone after that. That he vanished. But if he was here, if that was him, then she lied. She hadn't lost him. She was working with him. And suddenly, all of this felt bigger than betrayal. It felt like a plan, and I wasn't part of it. I didn't drive home right away. After I found the wristband, I sat in the car for nearly an hour. The engine off. Phone in my lap. Hands shaking like they didn't belong to me. My whole body felt untethered, like gravity stopped applying to me the second I learned Mallory's brother, the one she told me was gone, was not only alive, but part of whatever the hell this was. She lied. About him. About everything. The man she hugged in the woods wasn't a hallucination. He was real. And if he'd been at that mental health center, if he was unstable, and she was taking things from him in secret, what was she planning? And worse, was I the target? I didn't want to be paranoid, but when you start connecting threads, sometimes you realize they form a noose. I stopped at a gas station on the way out of town and used their grimy Wi-Fi to do something I hadn't done in years. I searched for her brother. His name was Declan. Declan Greaves. The last I'd heard, he'd been hospitalized after some incident in college involving a psychotic break and threats made toward a faculty member. Mallory told me the school covered it up and that the family never recovered from the fallout. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But now, digging deeper, I found something that made my chest tighten. There wasn't much. No social media. No photos newer than 2016. But there was an archived blog post from a local journalist who'd done a story on the Easton facility, the same one on the wristband, back when they were trying to rehabilitate their image. One photo. Staff members and visiting family. There, blurred in the background, was Mallory. Same jawline. Same posture. Next to her, half-shadowed but unmistakable, was Declan, holding a file. I zoomed in as far as the image would allow, just enough to read the top of the folder in his hand. Project Lyndon. No details. No context. But the name stuck in my brain like a splinter. When I got home, I tried asking her about him casually. Played dumb. Pretended I was just reminiscing. Do you ever think about Declan? I asked while she was folding laundry. I had a dream about him last night. Weird, huh? She didn't miss a beat. That is weird. Haven't thought about him in years. Lie. Straight to my face. I tried again. You ever wish you reached out? She shrugged. He made it pretty clear he didn't want to be found. Sometimes you have to let people go. Let people go. That phrase hit different now, like she was rehearsing it for someone else. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop again. This time I wasn't looking for messages or documents. I knew better. She was too careful now. But bookmarks? Bookmarks are where people get lazy. And sure enough, buried in a folder titled Work Resources, there was a private Notion page. Locked behind a password, but with the name visible. Lyndon, full integration timeline. I wrote it down, took a screenshot, closed everything. Heart pounding. What the hell was Lyndon? And why was it being stored under a work folder with her brother's name attached to it? This wasn't an affair anymore. That was the illusion, the red herring. Mallory wasn't cheating. She was planning something. With a man the world thought had disappeared. I started noticing more. On Thursday, she came home with a burn on her wrist. Said it was from a curling iron. I looked closer. It wasn't a burn. It was a mark. From a plastic band. The same kind I found in the woods. She'd worn it. Recently. And either forgot to hide it, or wanted me to see it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not just from stress, but because I was afraid. Not just of what she was doing, but of who she was becoming. I used to think I'd lost her to another man. Now I wasn't sure she was ever mine to begin with. I didn't eat the day after I saw the mark on her wrist. Couldn't. My stomach felt like it was wrapped in wire. Every time I heard her voice, I flinched. Every time she looked at me, I wondered if she knew what I knew. If this was all some elaborate test, to see if I'd finally break. But I didn't break. I opened everything. I cracked her Notion password after 3 sleepless nights. It wasn't a name or a phrase. It was a date. The day her father died. She never talked about him much, but I remembered the obituary tucked in the back of her childhood photo album. He died from a neurodegenerative condition that her family always spoke of vaguely, like the words themselves were toxic. Inside the Lyndon project page were timelines, checklists, encrypted audio logs. It wasn't a tech rollout. It wasn't a company initiative. It was a psychological case study. And Mallory wasn't just helping her brother Declan. She was documenting him, studying his patterns, testing new behavioral therapies that weren't approved by any review board I could find. Everything was framed in medical language, but it was clear. Quaid was the funding. Mallory was the handler. Declan was the subject. And I was the variable. In one of the voice notes, shaky, recorded late at night, I heard her say, "He's too passive. Ephraim avoids conflict even when it hurts him. It makes him the perfect environmental contrast to Declan's aggression. I'm starting to worry that he's noticing. But if this works, if Declan stabilizes, then it'll be worth it. I can't lose both of them." That line shattered me. Not just because she lied, but because I realized I wasn't crazy. I wasn't weak. I was being manipulated by someone I loved, not to hurt me, but to control me, to use me as a variable in her secret experiment. I didn't confront her right away. I waited for the retreat to be over, waited for her to slide back into our lives like nothing had changed, waited for the next moment her mask slipped, and then I told her we needed to talk. Not in anger, in peace. We sat at the table we'd eaten hundreds of quiet dinners at. She poured wine, tried to joke. I didn't laugh. I opened my laptop, played the voice note, watched her face melt. She didn't deny it. Not once. She just said, "You don't understand what I was trying to do." And maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't understand the science, or the ethics, or how much pain she'd buried over her brother, her father, her career. But I understood this. I was never her partner in this. Just a piece on a board she never let me see. And I was done being moved around. I didn't expose her. Didn't blow up her company. Didn't ruin her life. I just left. Quietly. Completely. I moved out that weekend. Took only what I needed. Left the wedding photos, the books she loved, even the ugly ceramic owl we got on our honeymoon. I wanted no leverage. No bait. No reason to come back. I disappeared the way she always feared I would. And for the first time in years, I felt free. It's been 6 months. I live in a smaller apartment now. It's not fancy. The ceiling leaks when it rains. But I sleep through the night. I cook for myself. I walk without checking behind me. Last week, I ran into her sister at a bookstore. She said Mallory was different now. That she left the company. That she's living near Declan. That whatever she was building, she tore down before it could become something worse. She even asked about me. But I didn't give her anything. Because I'm not the variable anymore. I'm the one who made the choice. I chose peace. I chose truth. I chose myself.